The new Egoist League is regarded as one of, if not the best arc in the entire Blue Lock series. Packed with some incredible moments, insane development, and revolutionary goals, it's clear to see why this arc holds the title that it does. And within the realm of the best arc is the best game of that arc, the match of Bastion München vs Manshan City. This match, which set the precedent for numerous characters going forward, like Isagi's development and integration of Metavision into his current style, and Nagi's slow decline and falter at a Blue Lock, are core points of this game, which impact the future of Blue Lock's dual protagonists. And yet, despite this match being praised as arguably the best match of the NEL and potentially the entire series, there is still one main thing I would change about it. So in today's video, I'll be going through the specific change I would make with this match and how this alteration would lead to a more desirable and developed conclusion for the fate of several characters. But like always, before I get into the video, I want to leave a spoiler warning for the latest chapters of the Blue Lock manga, being chapter 306, and if you have not read it, I would suggest you click off this video now if you wish to not be spoiled. And also, join my Discord server, it's called the New Egoist Geeks, and the link to it is down below. So just based off of the thumbnail and the title of today's video, I'm sure you know what I'm going to be talking about. I personally believe that Yukimiya should have temporarily aligned himself with Kaiser during the match against Manshan City. Now this would be for numerous reasons that lead to greater development, but at the same time don't truly impact the story in a different or negative way. In chapter 171, after the match against FC Barca within the Bastion München locker room, we see Isagi and Yukimiya have a disagreement about Isagi's actions of his game-ending play. After their argument reaches its peak, Kaiser comes in and offers Yukimiya and the rest of the Blue Lockers a chance to align with him over Isagi, saying how there isn't just one path to the starting lineup. I feel like this moment in the story set the Blue Lockers up to temporarily align themselves with Kaiser for the purpose of getting a spot on the starting lineup. Because when you look at the entire New Egoist League, the only person to technically align with Kaiser over Isagi was Kiora Jin, and that wasn't even a consistent thing, since Kiora only impacted a single play and even said that he could possibly choose to assist Isagi in the next one. I feel like this was a missed opportunity by the mangaka and could have been a very interesting writing choice to see some of the Blue Lockers align themselves with Kaiser. Of course, it wouldn't be because they dislike Isagi and would rather work with Kaiser instead, it'd mostly be done because it would be a way to get onto the starting lineup. Hell, even after Hiyori suggested they would all follow Isagi over Kaiser, the whole room goes silent, potentially hinting that at least one of them would be joining Kaiser. And I think the prime candidate for this that would impact the story best narratively would be Kenyu Yukimiya. His argument with Isagi could have led him down a different route of allying with Kaiser, but also would lead to a greater development for the future story narrative for so many different characters. Yukimiya could say that his allying with Kaiser isn't him going against or dying with his morals like he said he would, but could just be a way to establish security so he can continue to do so. His famous tagline of "God only gives you challenges that you can overcome" could relate to Kaiser as God's chosen emperor in a very unique and twisted way. Going into the match against Manshan City, this would be the only core element of the match that I would personally want to change. And I know it's surprising, right? Because typically I would say like the Nagi fighting for himself or the Ryo not working with Nagi kind of take. But I think that Yukimiya attempting to work with and link up with Kaiser could be a great way to show off Yukimiya's strengths. Most of the time we saw his dribbling be put on display, it was a very good and valid execution, like his solo break against Manshan City where his shot was eventually blocked by Chris Prince. Yukimiya broke past 5 Manshan City players and nearly scored, solidifying himself as a very strong and individualized player. And I think that having a showcase before them would highlight that sequence even more, and I'll explain why later in this video. But going into Yukimiya working under Kaiser in this new Bastion München formation, this would be a great chance to highlight and stimulate Ness and show the depth behind his fixation with Kaiser. From what we've seen of Ness, we've been aware that prior to his rebellion in the PXG game, that he was extremely loyal to Kaiser, even choosing only to pass to Kaiser despite Isagi being aligned with both of them. So what would be interesting is to show this more and highlight this more with Yukimiya. You could have Yuki attempt to link up with Kaiser and Ness, but Ness refuses to ever pass to him, only ever to Kaiser. Despite the alignment, it would show more of Ness's fixation with Kaiser and his hyper loyalty. Since we never see someone align with Kaiser prior to Isagi or even Kiora, it would be a good way to call to his later actions in the PXG game, choosing not to pass to Isagi and instead only pass to Kaiser. But assuming that Yukimiya does work with Kaiser, I think a great moment to draw narrative importance to not only Kaiser's behavior and mentality, but also Yukimiya's disparity for a spot would be to have this chemical reaction and link up lead into Kaiser's goal. Yukimiya could potentially give Kaiser a pass, but then the 5 Manshine City players would rush him, to which Yukimiya would likely reposition himself for a shot and also a clear pass for Kaiser to give to him. However, Kaiser being Kaiser could likely refuse to pass to Yukimiya or even insult him before doing so, taking the shot like he did in the main timeline. Now this isn't necessarily what I think would lead to development, as the action of shooting versus passing is an element of the Blue Lock series and egocentrism that has been pushed since chapter 1. But I think specifically the comments of insulting or extorting Yukimiya in this way could push Yuki to crack mentally. He was so high-strung that out of spite for Isagi, he joined with Kaiser to assert himself, only to be used and extorted, being nothing but a tool for Kaiser's glory. This would feed well into Yukimiya's obsession with clawing his way into the spotlight, where, like I mentioned earlier, his disparity would take over, stealing the ball from Isagi in an attempt to re-establish himself. This time not working under Kaiser or Isagi, but playing for his own individualistic ego. He followed his ego, attempting to use Kaiser as the piece in his story, only to be extorted, and with Isagi's rapid evolution, all he can do is desperately try and play the role of the main character. And this would lead to Isagi understanding egocentrism. How each individual is the protagonist in their own story. I think these slight changes to the story with Yukimiya's character arc would make him a lot more enjoyable from the perspective of the community, but also expand upon possibilities of the Blue Lockers allying with Kaiser, which would be a very interesting decision to make by the mangaka. But also Yukimiya allying himself with Kaiser and potentially the other Blue Lockers doing it as well could open a gap for Isagi understanding how to defeat PXG. During the game against Uber, specifically chapter 218, Isagi considers Bastion München to be an unpredictable and contradictory team, spearheaded by the dual attacking patterns of himself and Kaiser. And the main issue I have with this is that despite this statement technically being true to a certain extent, Bastion München was full of neutral party individuals. Hell, every Blue Locker who went to Bastion München, excluding Corona and Hiyori, were either neutral or individualized in their actions and playstyle. They weren't fighting for Isagi to be the king of Bastion München or Kaiser to remain the king of Bastion München, they were playing for their own benefit. Like, you can argue players like Yoichi or Ikiguri were Isagi aligned, but I don't necessarily see that as being true. They weren't technically loyal to Isagi, they were just working with Isagi for that moment, as we see with Yoichi in chapter 263 that he was willing to work with Kaiser if Kaiser worked with him first. So I don't consider most of the Blue Lockers to have aligned with either player. Yukimiya, Yoichi, Igaguri, Gagamaru, Kunigami, they weren't technically loyal to Isagi or aligning with him, they just worked with him for specific moments. And it would have been more interesting personally to see the Blue Lockers align with Kaiser at first for the purpose of establishing a spot on the starting lineup, and then eventually breaking away from Kaiser due to his extortion of them. Keeping Kunigami as this lone Dark Horse striker would feel fitting given his character and later use of him to stop Shido in the PXG game, so keeping him by himself doesn't bother me that much. But for the other remaining Blue Lockers, I feel like they should have established themselves with either party. I mean, the moment of Hiyori asking who to align with was given such an intense silence, I feel like it would have been a very important plot point going into the future of the NEL. Even more so, this moment would expand among Kaiser's mentality, and also, like I previously mentioned, Isagi's understanding of how to defeat PXG. Kaiser was lashing out and forcing his malice upon others to simply shield himself from the pressure and trauma he had from his childhood, fighting to maintain some semblance of humanity. However, the aligning with and rebelling from Kaiser's formation could give more solidification to Kaiser and his reason for discarding everything. Even more so, this would help Isagi understand the trick behind talented learners and how to defeat PXG, by discarding your fixations for the pursuit of rationality. People rejected Kaiser because of his behavior and extortion of them. In other words, their feeling towards Kaiser in that moment. And Isagi would then slowly realize that he was leaning his ego less into becoming number one or simply winning the game, and instead to destroying Kaiser. Even in chapter 197, when Noah tells him to think rationally, the only thing that Isagi decides that he wants to do is defeat Kaiser, which falls completely out of line with the rational and logical style that talented learners excel with. A simple change of Yukimiya allying with Kaiser could lead to a cascade of different benefits for the series without truly negatively impacting them or changing them in any drastic way. If anything, I think that it would make it better. But at the end of the day, the real question that I need to be asking is, what do you guys think of the possibility of Yukimiya allying with Kaiser? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, I hired an editor specifically for this video to see how you guys like this new style, and if this video does really well, I'll continue to hire him and you'll see videos like this from now on. Let me know your thoughts on this style down below. But aside from that, I hope you guys did enjoy this video and will continue to enjoy it in the future. I also want to say thank you so much to all the members of the channel who help support me and my content. And if you wish to earn some awesome benefits like they do, and even get your name mentioned in the Blue Lock New World movie, become a member yourself and help support me moving forward. Just a final reminder to join my Discord server if you're ever interested in getting any more involved with our amazing community. And like always, thank you all for watching, like and subscribe to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this.